You're listening to The Secrets of Doctor Who, where we discuss everything about the hit BBC series, Doctor Who. Today we're discussing the first Doctor story, The Savages. I'm Dom Bettinelli, and joining me today is Jimmy Akin. Hey, Jimmy.
Howdy, Dom.
Folks, remember to like The Secrets of Doctor Who on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Secrets of Doctor Who. You can retweet us on X, where we're at SQPN, and leave us comments wherever you find us. We love to hear from you. And stick around to the end. We have more of your excellent listener feedback. But first, Jimmy, can you give us a recap of what happens in The Savages?
This week, the first Doctor, Stephen, and Dodo arrive on a planet in the far future. The planet is home to two groups of humans, an advanced group that lives in a fancy technological city and a primitive group that lives outside of it. The advanced group has been tracking the TARDIS and awaiting the Doctor's arrival. They offer him gifts and show him their paradisical city, but the Doctor is suspicious, and it turns out he's right, because the advanced civilization is based on draining life energy out of the savages. They don't kill the savages, but they leave them drained. When the Doctor objects, they decide he's so advanced that they'll drain life energy out of him. The leader of the advanced people, Jano, then insists on having the Doctor's life energy transferred into him rather than having someone else take the risk, since this is the first time they've done this with an alien. But Jano gets more than he expected. He inherits much of the Doctor's personality, including his conscience. Afterwards, Jano helps the Doctor, companions, and the savages get into the city, and Jano himself takes the lead in smashing the equipment used to drain life force. Afterwards, the advanced and primitive peoples realize they must learn to live together, but it'll take them a while to learn to fully trust each other. So Jano and the primitive leader, Chow, nominate Stephen to be their leader, and Stephen reluctantly agrees to leave the TARDIS and stay behind. The end.
Before we talk about our impressions of the story, I would like to talk about a little bit the format of the current way of watching it, which is that
there's several. I mean, you could watch the telesnaps reconstruction.
Yeah, this is one of those ones where all of the original video is missing, the original tapes of the episodes.
Videotapes. You could also listen to the audio version of it that has linking narration to tell you what's happening on the screen. But
happily, in the end of 2024, they announced and released in February 2025 a fully animated version of this that the BBC put out, which is how I ended up watching it. I managed to find it on Amazon. They don't make it easy to find. I'll put a link in the show notes, though, for those who want to.
Yeah, and I bought it when it came out, and I've seen it a few times, and I really like it. I like the animation in this one. I like the color palette in particular that they used. It conveys a futuristic alien feel to all of this. And the animation in this one, I think, is nicely done. It's one of the better ones, I think.
And it's interesting how when they animate it, they don't necessarily feel bound to be completely accurate to the original. The telesnaps tell us what it looked like. They do play a bit with it because it's a different format, and that's fine.
And they improve like some of the graphics and stuff. Because they didn't have the budget in the 1960s to really make a convincing looking alien environment or alien technology or futuristic technology. And so they take liberties in that regard, but I think they're nicely done.
Yeah. Definitely recommend that. You can either get it as like a DVD or Blu-ray or watch it streaming, which is nice.
Yeah. I also thought it would be good before we get into the story as presented to mention some of its background, because originally this was meant as a sci-fi parable about South Africa and apartheid. Which was going on back at the time in the 1960s, where you had an upper class of white individuals and a lower class of black individuals in South Africa. And the idea was, let's do a parable about that concept, but race swap it. So the upper class was meant to be black and the lower class was meant to be white. And the original title for it wasn't The Savages, it was The White Savages. And so it would be a kind of turnabout. science fiction parable. And I don't have any problem with that in principle. There have been lots of situations in human history, not just South Africa, where one group was the Heron Vulcan, the master race, and they lorded it over some other group of people. And having that inverted in a science fiction context, I think is perfectly legitimate. They ended up not doing it, though. I'm not sure why. Maybe they thought South Africa would be too sensitive for a children's program at the time.
Yeah.
The way they took the racial element largely out of it. They did, though, keep Jano in the original Telesnap version, or the original TV version. He was played as black, and they had a white actor wearing, grease paint to darken his complexion. But in the animated version, you can still tell that Jano is a little darker than other people, but not much.
Right.
They've radically lightened his skin tone. And they basically taken the race element out of the story. Now, I don't have a problem if they wanted to have the race element in the story. I think that would be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Although I do think that it works better as a story as opposed to a political statement without the race element, so that we're just not distracted by that issue.
Right.
But I think it could work either way.
Yeah, I mean, the question of African colonialism was a big deal in the early 60s, that all of the African colonies of the European powers were starting to gain independence. So
yeah,
I could see why at the time this would, resonate differently than it would, say, today. It would, the idea, though, of, an upper class or, people taking advantage of another class of people, and in this case, literally leeching off of them parasitically. Yeah. It's worthwhile. I mean, we'll see that several times in the run of Doctor Who, especially in Classic Who. We'll see that. We did one recently when we talked about Caves of Androzani. That was kind of a similar, or maybe not, but there have been a few that were similar.
In this case, I mean, I think it would be interesting to see it as originally conceived. Mm-hmm. But my suspicion is it probably would have not worked as well on a story level.
It would have been distracting, I think.
Exactly. Yeah.
So overall, as a story, what did you think of this one?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was fine. I liked Stephen's departure, especially for this age in Doctor Who, this period in Doctor Who. Having a compelling reason for a companion to leave, was still, I mean, we're still in the first Doctor's time. They're still working out the rules for how this works. And I thought they gave Stephen a good exit. He didn't just suddenly fall in love with Savalom Glitz out of nowhere. And they gave him a good send-off. And it has emotional punch too.
It does. And he's,
it's also much better. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was going to say
it's much better than the send off they're about to give Dodo next story.
Oh God.
And because Dodo has a totally botched send off. She really actually doesn't get a send off.
No.
She's in like the first part of the next story, and then she kind of vanishes, and all of a sudden we have these two new companions, Ben and Polly.
Aw.
And so Stephen got a really good send off. Dodo does not get one. And I just have to say once again, I am on Team Dodo.
I kind of like her. Yeah.
Dodo is a good companion. Yeah. She is spunky. She has personality. She has an agency. She takes initiative in doing things. When there's an extended sequence, well, just at the beginning of the episode, Dodo, the Doctor has kind of wandered off, and Stephen and Dodo are back at the TARDIS, and Stephen's wanting to do something, and Dodo tells him, well, go ahead and do it. And he's like, well, the Doctor said to stay here. And she says, you don't have to do everything he tells you. You're a grown man. Or are you? It's like, okay, Dodo giving some pushback,
Right.
showing a little pepper there. And then later when Stephen and Dodo are being given a tour of the fancy city, you know, Dodo is the one who picks up on, hey, I just saw a guard escorting a savage prisoner woman around. I'm going to investigate that.
Right.
And she goes and investigates, even though Stephen says, no, stick with the group. And Stephen is super impressed by the technological city they're in. I don't know, maybe it reminds him of his own time.
Yeah.
But Dodo is like, I sense something is going on here and I'm going to check it out. And she's got agency. I like that.
I feel like Stephen was especially in the beginning, way too dismissive of everything that Dodo was like. Mm-hmm. Dodo was the one who saw the savages and, you know, knew that they were, you know, were there, but menacing them. And he just kept dismissing it. Like, Stephen, why are you being so dismissive until the spears start flying and suddenly he can't dismiss it anymore. Mm-hmm. It was weird. So when they land, the doctor...
we should say Stephen does eventually recover his own agency and get with the program, which is how he is nominated at the end. Right. Because the savages and the advanced people have seen he is an effective leader. So it's like in this story, he's got some initial dismissiveness, but then once he realizes I need to take this seriously, he does.
Right. He does. I liked how the doctor described this as, you know, when they land, he says it's an age of peace and prosperity. And it's like, yeah, maybe not. It's a little ironic.
I like how the companions, you know, when they're talking amongst themselves after the doctor has wandered off, it's like, well, he's been wrong before. Well, and Dodo even says in supreme irony, you know, when they're waiting for the doctor to show up again, the doctor has no idea of time.
Right. And the show itself, the story itself kind of twists things for you because, you know, it's an era of peace and prosperity. And then we see savages and then we see futuristic soldiers. And it's like, wait, what is this? Like, what's going on? And so I like that they kind of, you know, pull that out a little bit so that it kind of leaves you wondering what's really going on here. So that was really nice. Mm-hmm. And also the people, the city people, we'll call them the city folk, are very knowledgeable of the doctor. They know him. They've been waiting for him. They've seen him coming from way off.
Yeah, they don't know his name, but they've been tracking his ship, and this is interesting. So initially, the doctor meets a pair of guards outside of the city. One of the guards is named Exorce, and he tells the doctor, the elders of our city have been plotting the course of your space-time ship for many light years. They estimated your arrival some time ago. And I took that as, okay, they have a tracker that covers multiple light years of space, and they've been tracking the TARDIS on that. Right. And so that would be a correct use of the term light year as a measure of distance. And that seems confirmed by the fact that in the same speech, he says they estimated, after he mentions they've been tracking your ship for many light years, he says they estimated your arrival some time ago, indicating we've got two different types of measurement here. The light years they've been tracking you across, and the some time ago when they estimated your arrival. So all that supports a correct use of the term light year. But then in episode 4, Jano, the leader, says, "Doctor, for many light years we looked forward to your arrival on the planet." And it's like, oh, okay, you just used light year as a measure of time, and it's not.
It's like making the Kessel run.
Yeah.
You have to do all kinds of contortions to make it work. I
like the original solution to that, which is Han just doesn't always know what he's talking about when he's boasting.
He's just a blustering truck driver.
Yeah.
With the Sasquatch as a sidekick. When Dodo and Stephen were getting their grand tour, this was before we knew what was really going on, but like the two people who were guiding him around, Avon and something
Feather,
else.
Flower.
Yeah, Flower or something. It's a perfect society where everyone has the opportunity to develop their talents, but of course it's all artificial. And as I read in my notes, there's a shameful secret behind it all that makes it all possible. I mean, that's kind of a classic trope in science fiction.
There's going to be a giant space whale at the bottom of this city. Yeah,
exactly. There's always something that you need to watch out for. And so the secret is that they use the savages from outside the city as a source of life energy for themselves. That they basically treat them like cattle. In a sense, there's that. Another South African connection, I guess, because don't the I think it's the Dinka people of South Africa who raise cattle, but they don't necessarily kill them off. They bleed them and then use the blood as a food source for them.
That I don't know anything about.
Yeah, I remember seeing something about one of the tribes, but so in a sense, it's essentially what they're doing is they're bleeding them of life force, not killing them, but bleeding them of life force.
Yeah, and they use this life force for various purposes. They say it can make a brave man braver, a beautiful woman beautifuler. So they have personal benefits. It makes smart people smarter. So it enhances attributes that you have. I also kind of got the impression that it runs the power system of their city, but maybe not. Maybe it's just it enhances the people.
Right. I just checked. It's the Maasai people of East Africa. So
okay.
Before anyone writes in to correct me, but they do use it as a food source.
Mm-hmm.
It is interesting, and it apparently ages the people who are used.
I didn't get that it aged them. It just leaves them severely weakened, and it takes some time to recover.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. By the way, this is the first Doctor Who story that has a single title. Up to now, every episode of Doctor Who every week had a different title.
Mm-hmm.
And the titles that we use for them today, like An Unearthly Child, which really is the title of the very first episode of Doctor Who, but we use it to cover the first complete story arc.
Yeah.
Well, it's really two, because you've then got the Cave of Skulls and all that stuff.
Right.
But those modern titles for the different stories are not historical. They were not applied to the, say 4 episodes or 6 episodes at the time. Each episode has its own story until the Savages. And the Savages is the first one that has the Savages part 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay.
Yeah, because there are new script supervisors and producers who had come on board for this season, right?
That may have something to do with it, although I just know that this is the first story that has a complete title applied to all 4 parts.
Right.
Also, there are no deaths in this story.
Yeah.
For once, everyone lives.
Makes it unusual in actually the first Doctor's time, which is kind of that there's a body count in Doctor Who. I never really thought about the first Doctor's body count.
Yeah, they do have, though, some pretty effective horror, like when that woman Savage I mentioned that Dodo sees the guard taken in for life, Nanani, when they strap her down and they're going to suck her life energy out of her with their devices, she's pleading, and it's really effective. I mean, that actress, I don't know who it was, but she was earning her paycheck, because that is really effective. You don't know exactly what the effects of this are going to be,
right?
But or what the procedure involves, but she is selling it as something really bad is about to happen.
Right. That was effective. There was a bit of irony again during the tour. Avon and Flower talk about how they won't suffer consequences for Dodo's actions because she went off, and did whatever. Since this is a free state and all are equal. Well, not everyone, right?
Yeah.
not all pigs are equal, as as they say. And the Doctor is, meanwhile, has been accepted in as one of the elders. They give him a fancy robe and a position among them. He's being raised up, and you might think, oh, the Doctor's going to end up, kind of getting an inflated sense of himself and be overly sympathetic with these people. And we get a little bit of misdirection because when Dodo comes in with her accusations, he's kind of dismissive at first, but he's really just trying to get her out of the room so they can talk without being in front of the others.
He's trying to shut her up in front of the elders so they can talk privately.
Right. But then he does confront them over these practices.
I was impressed by how quickly he confronts them. I mean, they've got all these honors they're ready to shower on him, and it's like, I couldn't possibly accept your gifts not knowing what you stand for.
Right, yeah. They don't see the savages as people. They
or not like us.
Right. People like us. They
don't
claim
have the
that
same capacities, so it's okay to drain them.
Yeah. But they also claim all progress is based on exploitation. Not necessarily. I mean, they give the standard excuses, and then
there benefits come with zero-sum games.
Yeah. Well, the benefits come with a few sacrifices of a few savages, but the benefits outweigh the costs. The ends justify the means is what they're saying here. So none of it really kind of holds any water, definitely. But it's the sort of thing that people say to calm their consciences. And then they determine, well, the Doctor's a higher life form. We probably get some good juice out of him for his life force. And that's really what backfires on them. That's really what undoes them, because once Jano gets the Doctor's life force in him, he actually starts to become a little bit like, I wasn't sure whether they were saying the Doctor was now in him, or he just was expressing the Doctor in his.
He's the way the Doctor himself puts it later is like, well, you wanted my mind, you got it.
Right.
And so he absorbed with the Doctor's life force a good chunk of the Doctor's personality and memories. And the actor who's playing Jano studied William Hartnell's delivery so he could imitate William Hartnell's mannerisms, which he does intermittently. He's not doing it constantly.
Yeah.
But he will be talking to other people initially in the city, and they'll be talking to him, and he will lose track of who he is. He'll start thinking, I'm the Doctor, and then he'll realize, no, I'm Jano. They don't say it that explicitly, but that's how it comes across. And he gets lost in the Doctor's memory and perspective and personalities, and then has to be snapped back to his own. And while he's doing that, he's imitating William Hartnell's delivery pretty effectively, actually. And it's nice to see how they communicate what's happening with him without saying it, because he can't say it in front of anyone in the city,
right?
Because that would signal he has been compromised, and you need to get him out of his leadership position immediately,
right?
And they need that not to happen. So Jano has to keep his mouth shut about what's going on, but he still is conveying by his performance and dialogue enough that the audience can figure out, okay, William Hartnell's personality has had or the Doctor's personality has had a big effect on him due to that life transfusion.
Right. He even raises the pitch of his voice and a little more nasally when he's more. Yeah. That evens out later, but at one point the Doctor says that Jano he inherited a conscience from the Doctor, basically, which everyone has a conscience, but already. But what he's inherited is a better formed conscience, maybe, from the Doctor, and that is what motivates him in the end to realize what we're doing is horrific. We need to stop this. We need a different way.
I also I like one moment where Jano, after the transfusion, is referring to his companions, and they think he means a couple of people from the city.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, not them. Stephen and that child with the ridiculous name, meaning Dodo.
Right. And for a bit, the people of the city, they think that that Dodo and Stephen actually are the same as the Doctor, that they'll have the same level of life force in them, which they don't, of course. No. But But they, I have to say, the Life Force machine made me think of the Princess Bride. Like
Sure.
the contraption in there. It has sucked 10 years of your life from you. Please tell us how it feels. This is for posterity, so please be honest. I had a little flashback of that. A nice moment is so they capture the savages capture one of the guards. I forget which one, whether it was the captain or the Exorce.
Exorce.
And Nanina is actually so one of them, the savages, wants to rough him up, show them what for, give him a taste of his own medicine. Yeah. But Nanina shows him kindness.
Wants to kill him.
Yeah, right. And but Nina wants to show some kindness and compassion, and that's what kind of begins to convert this Exorce to maybe we've been wrong. So he's getting this conversion from this experience of these people.
Yeah, and there's a nice bit later on after he's escaped and he's going back to the city. Nanina chases him, and he's got a crucial piece of information he needs to not reveal.
Right.
And she begs him not to reveal it, and she reminds him, "You owe me your life." And he doesn't respond to that really. But then when and so this is subtly played, but because they could have called it out in a way they don't. But then when he gets back to the city and makes his report, he leaves out the piece of information that he needed to leave out.
Right.
And so it's like you've got an effective reaching out between the two groups, between Exorce and Nanina.
Right. Exactly. I had mentioned earlier about how Jano received a conscience, quote unquote, from the doctor. But now he knows right from wrong. And so now he's going to destroy Eden. In a sense, I was like, there's an interesting parallel there to the Genesis story. Now that you know right from wrong, Eden is destroyed or cut off from Eden in the Bible.
Well, yeah, although, I mean, I understand that, although it may not be as bad because if all they're using the Life Force for is personal upgrades,
yeah,
then all their technology may still run.
Mm-hmm.
And they can just invite the savages into the city and build a new high-tech civilization with them as part of it.
Right. As long as it's not, they weren't using it for a power source, which maybe they weren't. Jano actually makes a really good point too near the end, who says, "No man easily gives up the means which give him power." Like he understands how difficult this is, and that's why he wants to invite in Stephen as this third party. Neutral third party to oversee the integration of these two societies, because no one from either society would be accepted.
Right. And both Jano and Chal, the savage leader, recognized we've got too much bad blood right now. It's going to take time for us to learn to effectively work together and so forth. So Stephen, as an outsider, is a good choice. And they initially want the doctor, but the doctor's like, "That's totally impossible. I have a series I have to produce." But
got a regeneration to plan.
Yeah, but Stephen is a good compromise. And as an outsider, he does have an advantage that nobody on either side on this planet has. So that works well. He's also shown himself willing to stand up for, like, he saves Jano's life at one point. And he's also stood up for the savages. And so he's someone that both sides can trust based on past experience.
Speaking of William Hartnell, you can tell he's struggling here. The end of his time on the show is close at hand. Because he struggles with some of his lines. And in fact, he basically has nothing to say in the third episode. He's a zombie. He
had Billy Fluffs all the way back to the second story in the Daleks and the radioactive gloves, drugs.
Right. Yeah. He just, there were a few flubs in this one too. It's unfortunate to see, but it's got a regeneration coming, so he'll be able to retire. I thought it was funny. When they do rescue the doctor from the city, they take him to the caves and not to the TARDIS. I'm like, why not take him to the TARDIS? It's his natural environment. Although I guess Jano thought of that, or or the guards did. Like, oh, they might be going to his spaceship, so we should send some folks over there.
Yeah, well, it's the Savages' ideas. It's like Chow and Tor, who say, well, there's no place safe for him, but the safest place is in the caves.
Right. Any other notes on this one, Jimmy?
I suspect Exors and Nanina may be making babies in the future, based on their interactions here. Also, like, they have these weapons called light guns, which don't look like typical phasers or, laser pistols or anything. And basically, you shine a light on somebody and it hypnotizes them. So you can march them around and take them back to the city and stuff like that while you're shining the light on them. And they devoted some thought to how these would work, because when they're in the city, they at one point, Steven and Dodo have a couple of light guns. And so they need to take countermeasures against the light guns that Steven and Dodo have, and they got a way to do it. They have these vapors. They call them destructive vapors, although they don't seem that destructive. But they have this smoke, these vapors that they can release into a corridor to block the light guns. And so I thought, yeah, that's good thinking. If you've got these hypno light guns, smoke will block the light.
Right.
And so I thought that was nice world building there on the part of the writers.
Right.
What I thought was less well done. And by the way, these light guns, they're a little ambiguous. They're kind of like Zat-Nicotels. With a Zat-Nicotel, one blast stuns, 2 blasts kills, and 3 blasts disintegrates, which makes no sense.
No, it doesn't.
But it's just for plot convenience.
Yes.
And these light guns, they sometimes hypnotize you, but they can also do other things like burn holes on, or not holes, but make scorch marks on walls and stuff when they shoot. So they seem to have more than one effect. What is not so good on the part of the writers is the city has, in addition to the public areas, it has a network of corridors that are kind of like in a mall. If you go to a mall, you may walk around in the stores and the food court and everything like that. And what most mall patrons don't realize is there's also an extensive set of corridors behind the scenes that the public doesn't go to.
Right.
That are connecting the stores from behind and stuff. In fact,
where deliveries are made and stuff. Yeah.
Where deliveries are made. This is how the employees get into the stores in the first place. If you go to a mall first thing in the morning, they've got these big gates, keeping the store, keeping people out of the stores at night. Well, there's a door at the back of the store that goes into one of the service corridors, and that's how the employees get in, and then they raise the gate.
Right.
So the city has something like that. It's got public areas that are kind of like a mall, kind of like a shopping mall, but then it's got these service corridors that connect to places like the outside of the city and the lab where they suck your life energy and stuff. And so initially Dodo sees a guard taking Nanina into one of these service corridors, and she follows. And we spend a good bit of time in the service corridors at different points in the story. But what the writers have done is, once they're done being life vampires on you, they just stick you in one of the service corridors and let you wander out of the city on your own. It's like, how do you know that's even going to happen?
Oh, there are arrows in the floor.
Yeah. And you got someone they've just had their life energy sucked, and they're dazed, and they're wandering around, and they're barely functional. And you just trust them to get out of the city on their own with no direction from you.
Right. That's true. That was kind of odd. That was odd. All right. So if that's it, we can move on to our feedback. And this feedback comes on our episode 430, Self-Help. That was the Master Big Finish story.
Mm-hmm.
Talon Schultz 5277 on YouTube writes, interestingly, you mentioned the 2 Big Finish exclusive masters of Alex McQueen, the Bald Master, and Gina McKee, Lumiat. But there's actually 3 more incarnations who have only been heard on Big Finish. The Unbound Master, played by Mark Gatiss, who has appeared in Unbound audios and some Bernice Summerfield. The Inventor Master, James Dreyfus, who appeared in some audios with the 1st, 2nd, 4th, and 7th Doctors. And the First Master.
He appears particularly in the First Doctor adventures that have been made with, I'm blanking on the actor's name all of a sudden, but with the replacement cast for the First Doctor, like David Bradley.
Bradley, yes.
Yeah. And so that's where you can hear about encounters with this incarnation of the Master and the First Doctor, for example.
Right. And then the last one is the First Master, played by Milo Parker, who has only appeared in the audio Masterful.
Right. And he's like a boy master. He's like a young adult.
Okay. And then they finish, as someone who absolutely loves the Master, I try to keep up with their many incarnations.
Yeah. We just didn't, in context, I didn't want to take too far of a detour, but you're right. Those are additional incarnations of the Master, as well as the boy master who looks into the untempered schism on the TV show, who has no lines.
That's true. Right. Excellent. Well, thank you for the feedback. Now, we'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create The Secrets of Doctor Who, including Declan M., Adam R., Brantley M., James D., and Matt L. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue The Secrets of Doctor Who and all the shows at StarQuest, and you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. So that's it from us this time. We'd love to know what you think of The Savages. You can let us know by commenting on the show at sqpn.com or the Secrets of Doctor Who Facebook page, or send an email to drwho@sqpn.com, or visit the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/discord, or watch The Secrets of Doctor Who on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/StarQuestMedia, where you can like, subscribe, and leave a comment. We'll be back next time when we'll be discussing the Big Finish 11th Doctor story, The Light Keepers. Until then, Jimmy Akin, thank you for joining me and sharing The Secrets of Doctor Who.
Thanks, Tom.
And once again, I'm Don Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to The Secrets of Doctor Who on StarQuest, and remember, the sacrifice of even one soul is far too great.